We're in a park in Vienna, coming up to field works, I believe, by the Danube. But I'll play a little bit when he starts explaining all this stuff. I gotta get this camera right. I like to see the park. Hurt. A little nasty. Well, it's freezing over this little lake. And there's, I guess, the Danube. I'm not sure. We'll learn here in a second. A lot of birdies. Starting to freeze over.
Your maps with you, and then I would position the major ponds on the top of your map where we just got off the bus in that vicinity. On that road there would have been where it was. And I put it there simply because that's where the ground rises. So that must have been, I think that would have been the original banks of the river. So my guess is that's where it was. And therefore, what we can see here behind us, this lake that we're in after the river, and this river here,
can't see it.
Just to the sun.
I think you get a gist of this. So basically, this is a series of islands, and there were bridges over, and the Austrian army was over here, and two of Napoleon's marshals finagled the Austrian general not to fire on him. It's a pretty funny story. And this played a part in the 1809 campaign against the Austrians also. Lebeau Island is down this way, which was a strategic island within the Battle of Wagram, I guess. I think was the name of that. It's cold out here though, it's freezing, but all in all pretty gorgeous in the summertime. This camera's starting to act up. It's cold. It's a cold camera. It won't go in and out like it does when it's worn out. But anyway, we're on the outskirts of Vienna. A pretty picture of the park. And a goose, just enjoying his day. That was a mistake. It wasn't a goose. I'm so stupid. It was a swan. What a dumbass I am.
Mendelssohn's house.
Yeah, Mendelssohn's house. There's a park.
I think Mendelssohn's Jewish, wasn't he kind of driven out?
Yeah, I can't remember.
This is in Scharnborn, and a monument to two separate 1805 and 1809. So there's battles around here. It makes a lot of sense. You can see. I don't know if the this is in German. I'm sure it's to the Austrian soldiers, Hungarian soldiers. But since I can't read that, I don't know. Perfect ground for a 19th century battle. Ouch, 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 ouch. I'm going to take it that this is Schönborn, however you say it, down this way.
Pictures in a field. Well, it's not that kind of tour.
It's nice to have pictures of people that are on the tour, but also I think it's nice to have pictures of, you know, what you're seeing.
Yeah.
But just taking a picture and not annotating what it is you see.
Yeah.
When you get the photographs back on, you think, you know. And he's issued orders for his limited force of around about 20,000 men, led by the vanguard of Bagration, all his baggage, all his guns, to make his way over those hills. And how many guns did we say he had in reserve?
162.
Apparently 162 guns he had in reserve. That's a lot of wheeled transport. I mean, that's what, just think, it's a lot of horses, a lot of transport, isn't it? That's the gun, that's the caisson, that's what? It's the
Ammunition carts.
ammunition carts, yeah. I mean, that's reserve ammunition carts. Then there's the baggage that you require to support every regiment. So you've got loads of the stuff. And it's coming across pretty poor roads as well. Yeah. So I talked about Napoleon's master plan of the manoeuvre sur Hollabrunn. Hollabrunn is the village or the town that's over in that dip over there. You can just see some of the houses from it. And what he wanted to do was, he knew that the roads were converging from Vienna and from the bad roads would be on Hollabrunn. And so he said to Bernadotte, who was coming up, remember, to the south of Thames, get across the river at Thames as quickly as you can. And you take you go in front of Mortley, your troops, and you press Katusha, and you slow him down as best you can. And so Bernadotte gets across, but he doesn't supervise the crossing at all. He's got a bit of a dalliance about.
Battle took place right over here.
Yeah, so when you get back, you will get your coffee and schnapps. Well, I don't have them around.
We'll learn about it, or I'm gonna learn about it. You're not. I don't know how far down we're gonna walk. It's good ground for cavalry though. Nice and flat. I'm gonna venture to say that this was here during the battle. This was used. But we'll see. But since we're walking all the way down here, that's what I'm gonna say.
Before I point out the ground to you, why don't you just look at this ground here? This was chosen by Bagration as a suitable place for a rear guard action. So without looking at your maps, you may have already orientated yourself to the ground, but if you haven't, you know the French coming from that way, okay, that way, and Brno's that way. How might you use this ground? What advantages can you see at all? Let me just describe what you can't.
And no, this was not here during the battle. So it had nothing to do with the battle.
You can see the hand of the failure.
That's the name right there of the battle. I can't say it. Sean Groen. Now we are now in the Czech Republic, and I don't know what the name of this town is. They said it, but I probably couldn't pronounce it anyway. Beautiful architecture. As you can see. Why am I getting that? That's weird. Oh, there we go. Oh, because it's a... I don't know what that says. But I want to get that church tower there. I sort of am. Getting a... That was Alan, the tour guide, the historian. Very pretty, actually. I guess that's not a church tower. It's just a tower. That looks neat. Looks like a... It's probably pretty at night with the lights for Christmas. I doubt it is. Nice little shop. You get the gist. It's a fairly large city. Nice. It wouldn't be called cobblestone, just stone. This is a lunch break for us. Middle of the day before we get to Brno. And you get the drift. It's Christmas time. There's a... Not quite. Oh, that's a saint somebody. Let's get him in here. Looks like they're redoing it.
We will move to the square where all will tell you of things. There are public toilets today. Somebody
and these haven't been decorated yet. Maybe a little bit too early.
It's 80 meters tall. The town hall is from the 12th century. So of course over the centuries they had to always restore. You can see. No. You will see the pigsty one later. Yeah. And you can see they are restoring it again. And when they were doing restoration in the 19th century, they were putting metal roof, because before it was slate. And then when the man who did it all big colony scaffolding. You know, it was a good rock climber, probably. And then
Vietnam. Vietnamese food. That's kind of interesting. How about Vietnamese food? Uh-oh. I wonder who, if that's a project, it looks like it. They haven't done that yet.
There's nothing there, it's closed. There's nothing
the
there.
market is closed. The restaurant is closed. Yeah, we hope it.
I think this is a town square and they don't have anything open.
Yeah, but you can buy mule wine over there. Yeah, so the market is still closed here, probably because the real adventure will start. On a Sunday, that's the last Sunday before Sunday. So I think they will open on Sunday. Yeah, we will, over there we can buy mule wine. We bought it last time there.
Let's do this.
Yeah,
then we're
let's
done.
go there.
Yeah.
And the trees, decorated. They are decorated by the schools. That's another free
Oh,
Christmas
there it
tradition.
is. Schools decorate the trees. I love the architecture. It's beautiful. It's a cute little kid. Mama. But nothing's open. So I think. So I think we're done here.
So, this was Napoleon's headquarters sometime after the Battle of Schongraben, and he stopped here on the way to Brno. And whilst he was here, he receives news of the Battle of Westphalia. Yeah. So it kind of was a particularly happy state. From here he will leave and then he will take up residence in Brno, just like we will.
1805, building here. Now it's a restaurant. Probably was a restaurant back there of some sort.
Confiscated, you know, were returned to the original owners, but in some cases, you know,
So you wonder how he got in here. So he stood right around here. Napoleon. On his way to the Battle of Austerlitz. So, if you didn't hear, Napoleon was here when he heard the news of Trafalgar, where his navy and the Spanish navy was defeated by the English. And I like this building here, the color of it. Beautiful. Nothing much more to see. The battery's going. Over that way. Yep. I think there's a river down there somewhere. Down that way. The town. Right there. Got it. They're telling all about this. There's a better picture of the valley.
And his driver was from Znojmo. He was a local.
And now they have sort of cobblestone. I do like that color. And here. I'm not quite sure what we're coming up to. I'm missing out on all the explanations, but hey, what the heck. It's just beautiful architecture, old. And anyway, I believe that this was a church at one time, and then when the communists took over, they Then it became a brewery, I think, something like that. A pigsty. Yeah, she said something about that. I would assume that's some type of a saint. Saints. And there's a big opening here. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. Am I going in? I'm gonna go out. Typical. Pretty view.
People love canoeing in Czech, so they hire canoes and go down.
Ouch.
Of course, when you have Spaniards like that, you have to carry your canoe around. But it's a very popular pastime. So yeah, Austria is that way. That's where it came from. That's the direction. You can see the local over there that we go past, and here is the rotunda. There is a similar rotunda in Mikulov, which is another very significant little Moravian town of very good.
We're in Moravia
We will see that on
with
the
some
way
fish and
to
chips.
Vienna. But we will only see it from the house. It's called Tier. And this is basically the end of the highlands, they are called the Czech Moravian Highlands, and then you will have the lowlands. But most of the Czech Republic is here. Castles are museums. Some of the castles and shuttles were given back to the aristocracy that it had been stolen from, but they all had to prove that they were not collaborating with the Nazis. Yeah, and some of the families still have court cases. Communism, even now, most people take land, and then they very often have little gardens like that. You know, some, yeah, and it's becoming very popular. And this area is very fertile, and Znojmo is known for picking. You know, Znojmo people working,
I was right. This guy here was a chapel. I don't know if this is somebody's house, but it's Christmassy. Looks Christmassy here. Some more in the window. Coming up towards the church that I took earlier. I wonder if that's a cathedral. There, the bells are ringing. Yep. Nope, closed. Dog nibbit. I wanted to go in. Oh well. That's pretty cool. But we don't know. Don't know who they all are. I gotta make sure that I don't lose the tour. I don't lose the tour. I kind of got this before, but not like this. And I like it. It's pretty. It says, but I got to make sure I don't get lost. I get left behind. The Left Behind series. Okay. Now we can see. I don't know if it's Mary or what. Oh, there's a Saint Sebastian. I would assume. I don't know. Uh-oh. See, I'm getting left behind. Impressive. I like it. Mulled wine and a hot dog. But I've eaten some of it. But there's some still left in there. Very good food, by the way. And the wine is excellent. That's a stupid movie. Stupid movie. And this is a monument to the Soviet Union for liberating Czechoslovakia. And he's got a, I forget what the machine guns we call it. But anyway, there you go. They kept that.
18th of November, Napoleon was in Znaim. We stood outside the house.
We're going to the Pratzen Heights, and he's going to explain the significance.
The 20th of November, 2 days later, he'd entered Brno. Brno as it is today, but Brno then was also another open city. And curiously enough, you know, on the back of Brno, where he discovered and was able to take possession of lots of armaments and munitions that had been made available, just left behind by the Austrians and the Russians. At Stockholm, as we heard, Lanz was able to walk into there and grab all of those. Well, so he was able to do the same thing here at Brno. Brno was stocked with weapons, powder, everything he needed. So all Napoleon really needed to worry about in terms of supplies of things coming from France were boots and clothing, really, because everything else he managed to find waiting for him in these open cities. Curious, very curious. And again, this must all add, I would have thought, to the mistrust that the Russians would have of the Austrians. Why would you do that? Why would you leave you know, such useful munitions to your enemy without making some sort of attempt to destroy them? But no, nevertheless, that's what they did. Kutuzov entered Brno a few days before Napoleon, but decided he wasn't going to stand there, and he continued his withdrawal to the northeast of Brno to a place called Olmütz, which is about 30 kilometres to the northeast of Brno. And it would be good now for us to take stock of the positions of all the armies that are involved in the 1805 campaign. Let's start first of all thinking about the French troops. We know we've got 7 corps and we've got the Imperial Guard. Well, we know that Bernadotte had crossed the river with his 1st Corps, albeit very, very slowly. Napoleon had then sent him out to the west of the army to protect the left flank in Bohemia, because there were forces gathering in Bohemia itself under Archduke Ferdinand. Remember, he managed to escape from the entrapment of Ulm. He'd travelled northeast into Bohemia, and he was raising forces there, and he created an army there. I can't remember what the size of it was, but it was significant enough to cause Napoleon to divert Bernadotte with his 3 divisions, 2 French, 1 Bavarian, to monitor what Ferdinand was doing in Bohemia. The 2nd Corps, which was under Marshal Marmont, by now had captured Graz and was blocking the passes through the Dalmatian Alps, and Massena was in hot pursuit of the Archduke Charles. Marmont had a minor victory over John, forced him to withdraw to the east, and John had unified his forces with Charles. But Marmont had managed to block the major routes to Vienna, so the route that Charles and John were going to have to make if they were going to or if they were going to unify their forces with the Austrians and Russians in this part of the world, they'd have to go via Pressburg to the east of Vienna. And guarding against that, Mortier, with the remnants of his 8th Corps, were pressed out towards the east, along with Gudin's division of Davout's Corps, pushed out to Pressburg. There was a small Austrian force that had been gathering in the east under General Mervelt. He was the chap that had abandoned Kutuzov at the Enns. He'd been defeated again by Davout at a place called Mariazell a few days after the action of the Enns, and he got barely away with 2,000 men, but he did get away, and he used that as a nucleus to grow another army in the southeast of Moravia. So a growing threat in that part of the world. And meanwhile, down in Italy itself, Sancia was blockading the Austrian forces that were in Venice, and there was an amphibious landing in Italy, an Anglo-Russian landing to join up with the troops from Naples. And there was, of course, the forces that had landed in northern Europe, ostensibly under the command of the Swedish king, I think it was Carl Gustavus IV. But he was not quite 100% in the mind, and he lived in fear of the fact that the Prussians were actually not going to be his allies, but they were going to march into Swedish Pomerania. So as no sooner did he commence his march westward, that he turned his Swedish troops around and they marched eastwards to Swedish Pomerania, leaving Cathcart with the British contingent and Tolstoy with the Russian contingent, with a much smaller army, to face the French across the Rhine in what would be today just east of Holland. The reserve armies were mobilising to meet that threat in the north of France. Augereau was occupying Bavaria, and that left Napoleon with the main fighting force. To Brno he had brought with him the corps of Lanz and Soult, the Imperial Guard and the cavalry reserve under Murat. He'd left, as I said, most of Davout's corps was either in Pressburg or it was just to the north of Vienna, just across the river, with Mortier to the south. The total troops that Napoleon had available at that moment in time, with about 20,000 comprising the Imperial Guard and Lanz Corps in and around Brno, were about 20,000. And then with Soult and the cavalry reserve, probably those numbers there would rise to around about 25,000. So an army immediately in the theatre of the Austerlitz campaign, about 45,000 come the 21st, 22nd of November. So that was the situation from a strategic point of view. But let's go back and look at the timeline, the chronology. As I said, Napoleon entered Brno on the 20th, and he pushed out Soult and the cavalry far to the east. So Soult was occupying the Pratzen Heights and beyond into the valley of Austerlitz, and we'll see all this later from Krennowitz. And Napoleon had pushed his cavalry up the Olmütz road, particularly the light cavalry, and these were, if you like, the tripwire to see to give him warning should the Allies do anything. The Allies, if you remember, Kutuzov had escaped probably with no more than about 25,000 men. But by the time Kutuzov has got to Brno, he's been reinforced by an Austrian contingent under Prince Liechtenstein, and that had raised his forces up to about 45,000 men. As Kutuzov retires eastward, he's then joined by further reinforcements, Russian reinforcements, of around about 14,000 men with Buxhound, who'd arrived from Russia. And then by the 21st of November, and with the arrival of Essen-1, the Russian Austrian forces were around about 80,000. That's huge compared to the amount of troops that Napoleon had, around about 45,000. So the tables are turning somewhat. Essen-1, by the way, there are 3 or 4 Essen generals called Essen in the Russian army, and they were all brothers. And the way that the Russians had to be able to differentiate between one General Essen and another was that the eldest got the number. So Essen-1 was the eldest Russian general, Essen-4 was the youngest Russian general. And we came across Essen-2 at Krems. He was commanding the reserve. So now we've got Essen-1 who's come in with further troops and reinforced the Allies up to 80,000. And that was by the 21st of November, the same day that Napoleon himself jumps on his horse from Brno and he rides out onto the field of Austerlitz and beyond to inspect the ground. But particularly on Austerlitz, he's very much taken by the line of the battlefield. He's taken by the fact that there are the heights that we'll know as the Pratzen Heights that rise above the Austerlitz Valley, and then they drop down towards the valley of the Goldbach, which is quite a formidable defence line, as I pointed out to you yesterday. And he was convinced that he could fight a battle here. He rode over the battlefield with his staff, and there's the famous comment that he made to them. He said, take good note of this ground, gentlemen. Before 2 months are out, we will be fighting a battle upon it. In fact, one of his aides said that before the Battle of Austerlitz, by the time of the Battle of Austerlitz, Napoleon had ridden over it so often that he knew the ground as well as the surroundings of Paris. So Napoleon would have known it, all of his troops would have known it, and they would have spent a good 2 weeks examining and familiarising themselves with the ground and hatching their plans tactically as well as strategically. But how's Napoleon going to get his battle? He's 45,000 men strong. Okay, he can call on Bernadotte, he can call on Davout, he could call on others if required, but still going to be significantly lower than the Allies in strength. He can't advance any further because that's just going to continue to lengthen his lines of communication and reduce his strength. So he's got a real problem. He's got to have a battle here. Here he is now in the middle of winter. You can see how cold it is, how inhospitable it is. Remember, the snow had been falling since the end of October in 1805. So it would have been deep on the ground. It would have been hard to be able to forage any crops if there were any crops left on the ground. The men were freezing cold, they were uncomfortable, they were tired. His lines of communication were huge. I can't remember exactly how many hundreds of kilometres. I think it was about 1,200 kilometres back to Paris. And so messages to and fro are going to take a long time, and getting supplies up are going to take a considerable amount of time. So he was fortunate that he was able to capture a fair amount of those in Brno. On the 22nd of November, the day after Napoleon had first inspected the battlefield of Austerlitz, Kutuzov meets Francis and Alexander. Alexander had come up with his army, and he'd met with Francis, and essentially Kutuzov is relieved of his command. When Kutuzov asked what the plans were, what the Tsar's plans were for movements, for manoeuvring the army, the Tsar turned around to him rather curtly and said, "That is none of your business." So the able commander of the forces was forced to take a back seat in the light of the Tsar, who was being egged on by these young dandies of the court of St. Petersburg, who were of the same age of the Tsar, who himself was somewhat younger than Napoleon by a few years, and was convinced that if a young upstart from Corsica can prove his worth on the battlefield, well, somebody that was born by the grace of God to lead his country of a similar age has probably got the God-given right and ability to be able to win his victory. And so there's an argument there, being egged on by by his orderlies, by his aides-de-camp, etc., that he would be good enough to make terms. There was also a fear that where they were in Olmütz, there may not have been sufficient supplies to maintain the army there, because Kutuzov, Bagration, even Sartovsky, one of the Tsar's advisors, Miloradovich, Doktorov, they were all for saying, well, there's no need for us to go and have a battle with the French here, because, you know, General Winter is going to do his worst here, and if we withdraw away from the French, well, you know, nature is just going to destroy it. Very similar kind of thinking to what ultimately prevails in 1812. However, it's obviously clear that the Tsar is keen to have a battle, and that's reinforced even more on the 24th of November, when the Russian Guard arrived with a further 11k, and they're commanded by the Grand Duke Constantine, Alexander's brother. And of course there were another host of aristocratic cronies that joined in that, and they were all gung-ho. They'd marched across Russia. I suspect that their argument was something along the lines of, we haven't come all this way from Russia just to sit on our backsides and do nothing. Their blood was up, and they wanted a battle. And so Napoleon, to try and gauge the feeling of the Allies, he sent one of his aides, General Savary, ostensibly to negotiate tentative peace terms, but really to find out what the mood of the Allies were. And when he was approached by our old friend Dolgoruki, who we'd met at Schöngraben, who was rather arrogant in his approach when he dealt with Murat, but Murat was, as I said, so vainglorious he didn't understand. His approach to Napoleon was sorry, I'm jumping ahead of the gun here. I'll come back to Dolgoruki in a minute. But Savary had gone to the Russian headquarters to gauge it, and he came back of the opinion, certainly, that they were very much keen on war. And Napoleon then thought, well, what I've got to do is I've got to create an appearance of weakness. And he encouraged Savary to get the Tsar to send some emissaries to discuss peace terms, and that was Dolgoruki in particular. And his arrogance was such that Napoleon, as much as though he wanted to try and keep up this perception that he was weak and timid, didn't want to fight, even he lost his temper and said, enough of this. He says, I will not stand your language, your approach to me in any way whatsoever, and be gone with you, effectively. He was also offended by the fact that when the Tsar refused his peace terms, instead of referring to him as the Emperor Napoleon, he referred to him as the general in charge of the French government. So lots of slights to Napoleon to provoke him. Nevertheless, he had created this perception of weakness. And just give me a second. And so they determined on the 24th of November that actually they were going to go on the offensive. The same day that the Russian Guard had arrived, the Allies said, right, that's it, we're going to advance from Olmütz, and we are going to make contact with the French. So everybody's getting together on the Allied side on the 24th of November. So on the 25th of November, there's no Allied movement. But on the 26th of November, there's no Allied movement. On the 27th of November, finally, the Allies start advancing from Olmütz. And on the 28th of November, at a place called Rausnitz, which is just beyond the post house, where we'll be having lunch tomorrow, which is just behind the right flank of the Allied position, or the northern flank of the battlefield, there's a cavalry skirmish there. And that's the tripwire for Napoleon to be aware that the Russians now are on the march. So this is on the 28th of November, so Napoleon now is anticipating a battle. At that same day, he meets with the Prussian ambassador Haugwitz, who has got this ultimatum in his pocket that Prussia is going to declare war on the French, and somehow Napoleon manages to keep Haugwitz talking and convinces him that the declaration of war shouldn't be given to Napoleon, but should be given to his French should be given to the French foreign minister, who was at the time down in Vienna. So Haugwitz is then sent on his way without handing the declaration of war over to Napoleon. Napoleon was well aware of what was in his pocket. And that day Napoleon rides out to the post house, to the Stara Posta, where we're having lunch tomorrow. And he meets with Marshals Lanz and Soult and Murat, and they discuss what it is that they what they're going to do in terms of a plan. And essentially the plan that they've got is almost a mirror, well, not a mirror actually, a copy of the Allied plan. And that is, what Napoleon wants to do is to block his right flank, hold his right flank, and to swing around in a circle, in a circular movement, and crush the Allies again with his left flank against the right flank. The Allies, in the same way, want to strike the left flank, the right flank of Napoleon, and swing that all the way around and crush it against their right flank. So if both plans took place, and look forward, I'm going to do a demonstration here, we get a movement like this. Can you see what I mean? So you've got the Allies going around like that, and then you've got the French will be going around like that. So both armies would spin around and achieve nothing.
Kind of like Stones River.
Achieve nothing,
in the American
but that doesn't
War.
happen. The French actually will hold their right flank and use their left flank to manoeuvre. So the cavalry skirmish on the 28th, the French have decided on their plan of action, and Savary goes back to Olmütz for one last time, and is convinced that the Russians are going to be spoiling for the fight, and he goes back to Napoleon, and the French make the decision to abandon a valley around Austerlitz. That's the 29th of November. And the Allies now realise that if this plan of theirs is going to work, they're going to strike the French right flank. They need to have their strength to do that on their left flank. But their strength presently is up on the Olmütz road, on the high road, on the right flank. So there begins this movement on the 29th of November, where the Allies shuffle most of their forces, with the exception of Bagration's troops, from the north to the south. Okay, yeah, I got about 12 kilometers. So yes, so the strength of the Allied forces are up on the highway, on the Olmütz-Brno highway road. So they have to, on the 29th of November, they shuffle southwards, and all of the troops, with the exception of Bagration, shuffle southwards. On the 30th of November, the Allies occupy the valley around Austerlitz, and we're going to get that view. We'll see in a minute, in a few minutes, we'll get that view. We'll overlook the valley that the Allies occupy, and we'll be looking at that from the position that is occupied by the French, particularly the light cavalry and Soult's corps are looking down on this, and they watch this movement to the south of the major part of the Allies' forces. The Allies also then make their headquarters down in that valley below at a place called Krenowitz, which we'll visit. But when that tripwire was kicked off with the cavalry skirmish on the 28th of November, Napoleon sends out orders to Davout and to Bernadotte to march on Brno. And on the 30th of November, Bernadotte arrives at Brno, and Davout and particularly the division of Friant are on their force march up from probably around Florisdorf, I would imagine, at the time that they received the orders, where we were first thing this morning, to make their force march, and they will make an appearance during the early morning of the 2nd of December on the battlefield. And Bernadotte arrives at Brno. That incident with Dolgoruki, by the way, I jumped ahead of myself. That takes place on the 30th of November as well, where Napoleon tells Dolgoruki to be gone. And so now the scene is set. The Allies now are preparing for battle. On the 1st of December, the French decide to abandon the Pratzen Heights, and they do it in a very, very impressive manner. Those that saw it saw the battalions of Soult's division, Soult's corps, sorry, form up in their squares, their large squares, and in checkerboard formation. Is that the Pratzen, is it? Yeah, oh, yeah. Okay, Pratzen Heights there, front right.
We'll see it. I'm waiting.
Yeah, so they abandon the Pratzen Heights, marching in checkerboard formation in their squares, expecting to be pursued by this massive Allied cavalry, but they're not. And it's not until late on the 1st of December that gingerly the Allies make their way up to the top of the Pratzen Heights and find themselves masters of it, and they are convinced now that what they've got is a weakened French army that's withdrawing to their front, and they better act swiftly, because if you look front left now, you can clearly see the Pratzen Heights, and on the right of it you can see the golf ball radar. Can you see it? And the Allies are aligned all the way along those Pratzen Heights there.
You're going to get glare if I do it now.
The 1st of December. Well, that's a good place really for me to go and stop, yeah. Oh, good spot there, Helena, well done. Any questions, any comments, observations? Have I missed anything? No? Okay. I do wonder when you don't make comments, I'm thinking, do you believe me? I don't know. It's all true.
Well, now we're going to think taking a left. If we take a left, we're going to switch back. Still haven't seen the Pratzen Heights, but you couldn't see it if I did it. Anyway, it's coming up though. I hope. It was a nice view from back there. Is that it there? Up that way? Is that Pratzen Heights? I believe it is. There it is. Right there. Let's zoom in.
So the question is,
still can't see
were the French reluctant to attack because they didn't have the superiority in numbers?
This is iconic of the battle.
What was
the Pratzen Heights? It's coming up on your left. It's coming into view. Here it is. It's coming into view, and then we got to take. Shoot. The road changed. Oh boy. I gotta get this out. So I don't want to get anybody in this shot. So it's glaring. It's glary. Oh boy.
Okay, so the question, I think, the question is...
Here we go. There we go.
Did Napoleon not attack the Allies because he didn't have the superiority in numbers? And did the Allies not attack Napoleon? Or did they consider not attacking Napoleon because they didn't have the ratio of superiority, which in modern warfare, and I think it's since we've come away from the black powder era of guns, that you now work on the concept of you would not attack a position in modern warfare unless you had a superiority to the ratio of 3 to 1. That really didn't. That ratio of 3 to 1 wasn't applicable during the the black powder era, really. I mean, armies would fight each other on equal terms, and in fact here at the Battle of Austerlitz, the numbers, the French numbers were lower than the Russians. But I think that the problem is, the problem that Napoleon had was he has to have a battle here. It's not a case of that he wants to entice them, although that's what his objective is. He's got no other choice. He's got to have a battle. He can't afford just to stand here and do nothing, because his supplies will run out and the Allies will only get stronger. Eventually the Archduke Charles and John's force, their numbers will tell, and even though Massena is on his tail, Massena is only going to get weaker as Archduke Charles and John get stronger as they retire into their own territory. Ferdinand's only going to get stronger, and as we've seen, the Russian reinforcements are going to get stronger. And the one point I didn't make, but directly north of us here, what I would say 50 kilometers to the north, is Prussia. And we know that, and Napoleon knew, that Haugwitz had got that declaration of war in his pocket. So the Prussians would be well aware where Napoleon was at this moment in time and where his forces were. So their troops would be mobilising to the south of Silesia. So the longer that Napoleon stayed here, the more critical was his position. So he had to try and get this battle. He couldn't withdraw. If he withdraw, he'd lose everything that he'd get, the strength of the Allied forces around there. He'd end up going all the way back from where he started, and that would see the end of him. So he needed a battle. I mean, it's a desperate gamble here, but he has to get a battle, and so his conundrum is, how does he get that battle? And so it's, you know, it's all this diplomacy, this giving this perception of weakness, and banking on the vanity of the Tsar, and hoping that that's going to happen. But that's a tremendous gamble, isn't it? I mean, how do you know that that sanity is not going to prevail within the Russian army? How does he know that, you know, the collective view of Miloradovich, Doktorov, Kutuzov, Czartoryski, and the likes, you know, all the major, all the significant generals there, that their view is not going to prevail? I mean, they were saying, well, we don't need to move forward. We can even withdraw from this position, and if the French follow us, fine. But we don't need to fight a battle. How does Napoleon? How can he be so confident that psychologically that battle in his enemy's headquarters is going to be won in his favour? It's, you know, it's a gamble that I don't think he'd got any right to put into his calculations, but he did. And in anticipation of that, he calls up Bernadotte and he calls up Davout and concentrates the forces. And he'd even anticipated it, hadn't he? Because he'd been over that ground on the 21st of November, and for the next 2 weeks as well. He'd poured all over it. He expected a battle. I don't know, what do you call it? Do you call it arrogance? Do you call it genius? You know, it's not just luck, because he'd put all this preparation into it and all this thinking. But it's, you know, that's for me is what makes this battle, this campaign, so remarkable. You know, and he quite rightly sees it as being, you know, the greatest victory of his career. So so there you go. Any more questions? No.
And that's it. Not too sure. This is all not in English, but we'll find out while we're here. I think we may be on the northern part of the battlefield at this point.
If you want to gather round here, please. Yeah, from north, south, east. To the north, you can see the high ground there.
That's the north.
Referred to as the Moravian Alps. Okay, probably just because they're higher. I don't know. Definitely refers to as the Moravian Alps. However, it's not a comfortable position for any army to be rolled up into. So, if you like to use the Royal Gamer's term, maybe secure flank to the north for both armies. Just below that you can see that there is the main Austerlitz Brno highway. Austerlitz is up to our right here, up to the northeast, and Brno is way off to our northwest over in that direction. So the Russians, when they've gathered together, they've gathered their forces of 80, reinforced maybe to 90,000 men in Austerlitz, are over to the northeast. Napoleon, headquarters in Brno, over to the northwest, and occupying these Pratzen Heights is Murat's cavalry and Soult's 4th Corps, and they're occupying all of these heights, and we are on the eastern side, and we're looking down into the Rausnitz Valley, or the Austerlitz Valley, because over directly to your east you can make out the large town. You can see the, I think it's the chateau that you can make out quite clearly there amongst the woods, of Slavkov or Austerlitz. Okay, so that's what we refer to as either the Rausnitz Valley or
There's
the
Austerlitz.
Austerlitz Valley. And you can see a lot of dead ground down there. But you can also get an idea of how steep it is dropping down there. And then just here to our right, if you just follow the edge of this ploughed field, till you get to the bush line, you can just see the tip of the church spire of Breno. You'll see that. You need to get closer to it. You jump up and down, you can see the church. It's snuggling down there, okay? Breno. What a great place for an Allied headquarters to get a good view of the battlefield from. Okay? So
He's being
behind us
facetious.
is the battlefield of Austerlitz. And the prominent feature we can see here is with the cross on it, the Slavina, which I pointed out to you earlier on. So what we can't see from here, where we're going to be talking about most of the battle, is on the western side. So you've got the Slavina, which is not the highest point in Pratzen Heights. You can't see that from here, but the Pratzen Heights is up to the left. So you see that wooded area in the distance. Yeah, that's the Pratzen Heights. Okay, that's the actual Pratzen Heights, and that's the Slavina Radi. So just because we might not...
Sorry, so where are we?
So we're on the heights above Breno. So,
Okay, so
Breno. Okay, so you want to orientate yourself.
Yep.
Pratzen Heights. If I can steady it, right there.
There's the Pratzen Heights, which is that over there.
See where we are on the map.
So I'm not quite sure
What
what part. I would see that
so
south.
Right beyond the Pratzen Heights is the Goldbach Brook, and the Goldbach Brook is formed of two tributaries. One, the far side, the western side of the Goldbach Brook, forms one side of the feature called the Zuren, and on this side of it is the I can't remember what the other brook is called, the Bosnitzer Brook, and they merge at a place called Yerkovitz, and then the Goldbach Brook itself follows all the way down, forms the moat, if you like, on the far side of the Pratzen Heights, and that flows into the Sachsen Lights. The Rausnitz Brook swings all the way around to the south of this high ground, and at a place called Uz, it joins with the Goldbach Brook and flows into the Sachsen Lakes. So this ground is surrounded by a moat, if you like, from the Rausnitz Brook coming around like that, from the Goldbach Brook coming down like that, and then they unite where the Sachsen ponds are, just outside of town. What else have we got to see here? I think we've got everything. So let's just go. Any questions on the ground? I don't know what time we're going to get here tomorrow, because this is where the battle kind of comes to an end on one side and on the other side. So normally I come here towards the end of the day. So.
Where would the Santon be? Would that be?
So the Santon is way over in that direction. The Santon is we'll see the Santon. That's where the reenactment takes place. The Santon is a very prominent piece of high ground on the north side of the Austerlitz Brno highway over in that direction. but it's behind. It's in front of the Zuran. But we'll see that.
Migration forces sort of were down there and then they moved up here.
Not progression, no. So are we all happy on the ground? Any question on the ground? Comfortable with everything is? Okay. North, south, east, west. Okay. Right.
West.
So let's go back to
West.
the Allied forces. We know that they've withdrawn and consolidated their forces together at Olmütz, probably from here about 20k to the northeast. And then they make their decision on the 24th of November that they are going to advance to contact. And what do they do on the 25th of November? What do they do on the 26th of November?
Nothing.
Right, so on the 27th of November, eventually they decide they're going to come out of that area here, and very slowly they start occupying the valley here. But to the north, so that's where the vast bulk of the fighting is. So if we can't see it, but the Olmütz highway goes up there, and one of the first villages it passes is a place called Rausnitz. And that's where the cavalry skirmish takes place, a place called Rausnitz, and also another place called, I think it's called Dachau as well. And so that's the trigger as the Allies come down that highway, and when they come to this valley they then start deploying down here into the valley itself. But it's not until the 1st of December that they come out of this hollow ground here, because they realise that Weyrother, who's the chief of staff, and I find it ironic that there's all this trust that's been lost between the Austrians and the Russians because of all the blunders the Austrians have made, that, and the fact that the Tsar's not prepared to go and listen to the likes of Khrushchev and Muradovic or Dostov, but he is prepared to accept the plan that's been written for him by the Austrian chief of staff, General Weyrother. And Weyrother's plan is, as we were discussing, what he wants to do is cut off the French from Vienna and swing around and push them up against the Moravian troops, the heights. Okay, so to do that, you've got to have the bulk of your force down there, haven't you? That's where they've got to swing all the way around. And until the 1st of December, the Allied forces are in that hollow over there. And all the time they've manoeuvred out here in this area, so near of sitting across where we are now. And what a grandstand view you've got of what's going on. But from down there, what's the Allied forces? Absolutely ridiculous. They're completely and so as the Allies approach and start coming up these hills here, the French just gradually, very, very confidently withdraw across this ground here, over past the Sardine Valley, back down.
Not sure what this is all about.
Where is this area of Vienna? Somewhere over there.
So I am on the battlefield of Austerlitz. This whole area, amazing.
He's holding a meeting to keep up his forces. He's got in front of it.
This is our first stop, but tomorrow we're going to go visit some of the villages
What the manoeuvres of the Allies are going to be.
and the Pratzen Heights. And then on Saturday, 2 days, then we go to watch the battle reenactment over that way by the Santon Hill, over that way. That's where Napoleon was. So in the movie they have Napoleon. They got Napoleon down here where the lakes are, and he never was down, ever was down there. It's crazy. I don't know, is that the lakes down there? Can I see the lakes? Huh, that's interesting. Very well, it looks like lakes, don't it? Yes, it does.
This is on the 2nd of December.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
So what we're talking about, so that's the view we've got. Krenovich is down there.
I think it is.
Slavkov is over there. Rusinov is Rausnitz.
Although maybe it's further south.
So that could do with being orientated to But yes, you're right. So yes, that's a great.
At least that's what he said.
I'm not going to go through it.
I don't know, I'm a little confused, but it's going to happen. But I thought he'd point it this way for
Any
the
more
lake.
questions?
So we're going to, I'm assuming, he said that the Russians were over
Okay,
here.
well, let's talk about it now because that's a good question. Perhaps I can do it.
And
So,
the cavalry
on the night of the first
fight
of
was
December,
there.
Weyrother is joined by the various Allied commanders. So who's there? Gottorp is there, Radovich is there, Langeron is there, Liechtenstein is there, but Kutuzov is there, but Bagration's not there. Because Bagration's job, he knows, is to be looking after the northern flank. And he says, well, you know, your plan isn't going to concern me, I don't need to be there. Strange, but that's the decision he makes. So Weyrother says, right, what we're going to do is we are going to form up in 4 infantry columns, predominant infantry columns, and 1 large cavalry column. And the first column, under General Gottorp, will be the major strike force that's going to hit the French right flank. And he will go all the way around the base of these heights here, follow the Rausenitz Brook, and he'll make him around the low ground at the bottom, the south of the Pratzen Heights, and he will commence his attack on Tellnitz from the low ground. To his right,
so
next
that's
up,
south.
is the division of General Longeron, or the column of General Longeron. And he will directly attack Tellnitz from, he'll debouch or leave the Pratzen Heights, go down to the Goldbach Brook, and he will assault the line of the Goldbach between Tellnitz and Sokolnitz, which is the next village up the line. To his right is a general called Privashevsky. The longest name I've come across, I think, without any vowels, apart from the I at the end. And he commands the 3rd column. So his axis will be, again, coming off from the Pratzen Heights, going to the Goldbach. And then the 4th major column is under Gottorp, and the Austrian General Calloway. And they are on this high ground that we can see here in England, and they are also to assault the village of Koblenz, which is the next one up from Sokolnitz. Tellnitz, Sokolnitz, Koblenz. They all to go down there. Bagration is to hold the right flank to stop the French coming round. So Bagration will march along the Olmütz highway, and ultimately he will march towards the Santon, which is blocking the Olmütz Run highway.
And the Olmütz highway is where that car's going along there, along the trees.
Probably, yeah. It's hard to make out. Yeah. I mean, there's a motorway down there as well. So, but yes, that's the general vicinity of it.
And this is the end of the 4th column, and here is
3 or 4 kilometres.
Trying to get
And
this
then you've got
without
the 5th
anybody in
cavalry
it.
column. And the 5th cavalry column is to connect the 4th column with Bagration over there. What's obvious about that? What can't cavalry do? What can't
Fly.
tanks do?
They can't fly.
Go through it.
No. Tanks can do everything. What can't they do? What can infantry do that tanks can't do? What cavalry can do?
There's the English.
For a long period of time. Okay? Tanks can't do that for a long period of time. They're too vulnerable.
Here's all the actors
And this is a lot of ground. Right, that's,
on the Russian and Allied
part way of
side.
this plan is that Liechtenstein, under the 5th column, is pure cavalry, and they are
And then
to
here's
connect
the
Bagration
French.
with the 4th column over that massive ground there. Okay. Problem is during the 1st of December, when they take their positions, where does Liechtenstein cavalry go? Oh, they follow Doctor.
Now we're going back to the
About the plan, Liechtenstein's not aware of it. So he finds his cavalry right the way down.
French,
So when
Austrians,
they river
and
is
the
heading to
Russians.
plan, you can imagine Liechtenstein saying, "Oh shit, I'm in the wrong place." Okay, so during the night, whilst these columns
then here it
are
is.
restricted to focus on their respective targets, Liechtenstein with his cavalry, instead of coming back the way he came, he comes right away across this high ground, taking the shortest possible route, and goes through all the columns. Goes through Langeron's column, goes through Prudashevsky's column, messes up Doktorov's column, and eventually gets himself into this position. So there's this huge disorganisation in the darkness, in the cold, going on. So it takes a long time for the troops to get in position. As it turns out, that's quite fortuitous because it delays Doktorov and Kalerant commencing on their downward trajectory, which means they're still there by the time Silverstone comes up. They shouldn't be. Okay, so if it comes to the screw up of Liechtenstein, then the battle will be done.
This means nothing. I'm just panning. I don't want to get anybody in the film because I don't know if they want to be in it. So that's why I'm doing it. It should say where we're at here. I'm thinking we're up here somewhere. It should.
Their orders are
There's. It should show us where we're at here. It should say you are here.
That's the plan. The problem is the communication's not that much. They're all supposed to descend and at the same time and commence an attack at the same time. But Doktorov gets there first.
Do you see any "you are here" things? I don't. It would be nice to know where we're supposed to be. We're up here, aren't we?
No, we're, oh crap.
Yeah, that's the I mean, there's Napoleon. But did he show?
He pointed
Well,
out.
this is south. Pratzen Heights up here. Or here. It'd be nice. Oh well, don't know.
So that's the reserve. Yeah, good question, because that's where the Allied reserve is.
I thought we were up here somewhere. So here.
So Alexander, on the night of the 1st of December, is doing what we're going to be doing.
Okay, I think that's enough.
On Saturday night.
Oh! I didn't notice it.
It took me a while to notice it.
What didn't you notice?
Number 8.
Number 8.
Oh, well,
So
there you go. I didn't notice that either.
there is actually, yeah, there are actually, how many?
I'm looking for the
20 something.
I'm looking for the, like you have in the malls, where they say you are here.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I know. That's what I was hoping. Didn't see this. Now the candles, they do that. It's just tradition. And yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Oh no. Not in English, but it's here.
View here of Krenovitz, you see the church very clearly here, and then behind it you've got Austerlitz itself, and this is the Rausnitz valley now, so it's come swinging all the way around. It'll swing around here to the right, and you can still see at this point these slopes are quite gentle. As they get around to the right there, they will really steepen.
Yeah.
And we'll see that towards the end of the day. It gets much steeper around the back. The Pratzen height is still over that direction, so we've got a false crest here. Okay, it is higher beyond that, and that's where the plaques and heights are. So, as you were, no, I was right, Doktorov's column, followed by Liechtenstein's cavalry, late on the 1st of December, will make its way along this valley and around the other side. Liechtenstein will follow, and in the morning of the 2nd of December, Liechtenstein's cavalry somewhere over there. Okay, when it should be over there.
Should be
One
to the right.
imagines that the remaining columns are just coming up on this high ground as and when during the night. So at the end of the battle, just in case we don't get another view, the Allies are split into three. You've got Bagration, who will withdraw down the Olmütz road. You've got the Imperial Guard under Constantine and anybody else that he could rally around him that will withdraw out towards and beyond Slavkov. And then you've got the vast bulk of the Allied army that will go through the lakes and make their way southwards. So the army's split into three parts.
So the lakes are up that way.
And they have to reunite by a very circuitous march. And the French are not particularly good in their follow-up on the 3rd of December, allowing those elements of the Russians that have got to the south to get around and reunite and get away to the northeast. Just thinking about this strategically, okay, in terms of the forces, so we're not talking about what's here, but in terms of larger forces, major threat to the north, Prussia,
and
directly to the north there, in what is today Silesia, Poland, but was Prussia then. So the Prussians mobilising in a matter of days could be here. Down to the southeast we've got Mervel, and beyond him we've got the Archduke Charles and John, who could be coming up. And then over there, we've got to the west, we've got Ferdinand with his force that's coalescing
to the right.
and could come and attack us. So they're the big major threats that make it crucial for Napoleon to have his battle as soon as he possibly can. For him not to hang around afterwards. Well, what happens at the end is the Russians run away and the Austrians sue for peace. So he doesn't chase them. He tries to pursue the Russians but loses contact with them. And then it becomes irrelevant because the Russians are way out of the way and he's not going to pursue them in the winter.
He fights the Russians again in 1800.
So that's Krenowitz.
This is Krenowitz here.
And that's Austerlitz.
And Austerlitz behind it.
It's behind it, like right there, right over there. Okay.
In that kind of triangular shape you can see that.
Okay.
Oh no, that's Austerlitz there.
Yeah,
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Austerlitz
so
is over there.
Austerlitz, this is Krenowitz.
Yeah, okay, so it's a greater distance.
I can't see anything.
Beyond the road.
Yes, on the very left.
Yeah, when we stood over there, we could see Austerlitz down there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's cool.
Okay, there's Austerlitz.
Yeah,
there. Slokov is what it's called now. I think we're done here. Way back, probably around 1976-77 time frame, and I cracked the book of Campaigns of Napoleon by David Chandler and read about this battle. I never thought I'd be here. This is too damn cool. Man. It's awesome. If I put this out on YouTube, I just don't want to have any of these people. I don't mind having the historian Alan explaining, but I just don't have any of these people in it because it's not fair for them. So anyway, that's my thought pattern. I have no idea if they want to be filmed. So nice people, very nice people, but who knows. This is where we're at. Too soft. Main Russian general. His headquarters was down this way. This is actually stop one, but I'm not so sure. This has nothing to do with. This has nothing to do with it.
So Kurt, this is
This is Katusoff
headquarters. It's not the
headquarters.
original building, but it's built upon the original foundation.
Okay, but this is where it was at, and the foundation is original, right there. Well, over that way. There's Katusoff.
It's copper oxide.
Is it? Copper oxide is a more delicate green than that.
Turkish War. He made a bit of a reputation for himself, but he had fallen out of favour. But one of the things that had happened to him during the Turkish War is that he took a bullet through the chin that came out through one of his eyes. So that doesn't kind of do it, does it really? But he had a big scar on his cheek, and he's lost an eye as well.
Took a second bullet, didn't he? Went through the back.
Yeah, so he was missing an eye, I thought so. But not
The right
here.
one looks a bit different from the left one.
Uh-huh.
He said, I'm not looking at a dead man because
Well,
the chance of him surviving.
so he must have had this feeling of indestructibility then. But he was overweight, but he'd fallen out of favour with the Tsar. The chap that was popular with the Russian army, of course, was Suvorov, but he was very much a prodigy of Tsar Paul. And so when Tsar Paul was, who was it who said when he was captured? You know the answer was. He said when he was captured. I said, who was it who said when he was captured by the Russians? And he was accused of being a vagabond, and he said, "But at least I don't murder my father." Oh yeah. So so with Suvorov falling out of favour, Tsar Alexander coming back, obviously becoming the Tsar, Kutuzov is called back to the colours, but only because he was the only man that was available at the time in the theatre to be able to take an army forward. So reluctantly he was given command, which explains another reason why when the Tsar comes to the front, he's not necessarily keen to give command to people.
Andy had a really cool firefight.
So let's go back to the Austrian plans then. So we've got this meeting that Weyerother has called for the commanders, the Allied commanders, and they're all sitting around his headquarters. It's not this building here, it's somewhere out there. I don't know exactly where it is. I could look it up, but I've never been there. Anyway, they're all sitting around in this little room, and Weyerother now has come up with this plan. And I think you all know it by now, but essentially, I'll repeat it again, he's saying our intention is to sever the French right flank, cut off their communications with Vienna, and then drive through onto the Tura plain beyond the Goldbach Brook and swing northwards. At the same time, the grasslands to hold any French attempts on our right wing, and then once we're across the Goldbach Brook, to roll at the French against the Moravian Switzerland, Moravian Alps, and thereby destroying the French army. That's the intention of the plan.
Isn't there a big forest, heavy forest on that side?
It is really good.
It's not a bad plan, actually, is it?
That's not a bad plan at all.
That makes sense.
And the next order is that we will form up into, the forces will be split into six. The Gracian in the northern flank, the cavalry under the command of Liechtenstein, virtually all of the cavalry under their own command, only one or two regiments, well, only cavalry regiments allotted to Kranmeyer's advance guard, which is a small force of Austrians and 5 or 6 squadrons of cavalry, which are the advance guard, which takes the extreme left wing of the Allied flank, and they will commence the battle to test the mettle of the French, whilst the other columns get themselves into position, and they all need to be lined up, all 4 columns. From left to right, if we look at it, from south to north, we've got Doktorov, we've got Longeron, we've got Krivishevsky, and then we've got Doktrov /
And that's
Those first three columns, Doktrov, Longeron and Krivashevsky, are nominally under the command of Buxhausen, so that's his local theatre. And Doktrov / Palarat was supposed to come under the command of Kutuzov himself. But overall command will be exercised by the Tsar. So those four columns are expected to come down from the Kratzen Heights, to line up before they get to the Goldblatt Brook, and then coordinated attacks to be made all the way along the Goldblatt Brook to break through and push around. But no attack can start on its own. It doesn't turn out that way, but that is the plan. Right, okay, so now generally
the
we know
Russian
the
plan
Now
of
I'm going to
attack.
tell you which units you've got to be able to exercise your plan. Some of the units have fought with these commanders before and some haven't. So there's a reshuffling of the unit. And I don't know how that reshuffling is taking place, but somebody may well have marched, a unit may well have marched with Doktrov on the way here, but would have been allocated to Krivashevsky. Because we've got all of these reinforcements that have come in, so they're mixing them in with commanders that we've been talking about, Doktrov, Miloradovich, and bringing in new commanders to the theatre like Longeron and Krivashevsky. So they're now told this evening which units you're going to command. And you're going to be allocated to Longeron's column or Doktrov's column, not a corps. So I'm General Longeron, and I've got command of a whole force of Russians, and I've got 1 or 2 aides-de-camps, but I've got no staff really to be able to manage this. So I'm expected with a few aides-de-camps now to be able to take my column into battle, give all the orders. And worse than that is because when we're back, he speaks no Russian, he speaks a language of the days as well.
I think we're going to stop this. Who knows if he wants to be recorded and put out on YouTube, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to wait and do the reenactment and put that out there, because I don't think it's fair to put this out there without his knowledge or his consent. Maybe people will watch and say, why do I have to go on his tour if that's all I do is have to watch this? So we're going to end this. The only thing I'm going to put out there is the reenactment. We're in Brno, Czech Republic, and got just checked into our hotel. This is the hotel here. It's very beautiful, actually. You have first-class accommodations on this company's tour. Can you see that? That's what it's called. Resorts. Hotels and resorts. And it's rush hour. People are going home. There, people are going home. I don't know about this camera though. It's not this dark. But anyway, I'll get them done smoking a cigarette. I'll show you the inside because it's very impressive. Very impressive building. Or hotel, I should say. Isn't that neat? Subway, all shiny for Christmas. Why isn't... Oh, yes it is. That's the hotel. Oops. Can it get it? Yes, it can.
No, you lose. Yeah.
The shoes are lit. We're gonna take a tour of this place for right before supper. And it's gonna be neat. Can't wait. Okay, so this is my room in this hotel. What's the name of the hotel that we've seen outside? And you are right. Well, who cares about that for now? And I guess this is the old Breno. Pictures of the old Breno. Very spacious, very chic. All that. My plug works. Bed, little area over here that you can sit and, I don't know, is that Mussolini? I don't know what that is. Old Brno. Brno, I think it was called in 1805. In the shower, bathroom. Shower. Oh boy. I'm gonna do that after I come back. What the world is that? It's an outdoor shower. John. That in there. My hair's all messed up. It's over here with the goose shoes, just like the other one did. Oh, that's for if it gets real cold in here, it won't. Well, anyway, that's it. Now I gotta send an email to Jeff. It's coming from somewhere, and this is the lobby. There's a sign, but I can't read it. Unless there's a bit of English. Oh, it is. Wish cards are ready for children with cancer, isn't it? Oh, it's all in English. That's kind of wild. I wonder why. I wonder why. I like the blue. It's pretty cool. I'm assuming there's a lot of people here that are for the for the reenactments, but who knows? That's Helena, part of the tour. And that's the front door. Very nice hotel and spa. I think it's a spa. Well, they hit was sauna, but you got to make reservations for the sauna. But I brought my trunk, so I think I'll make reservations if I can. I'll go ask them. I'll go ask them. And there's The lobby. I'm missing this.
Enthusiasts or let's say fans of Napoleon history, right? So we will go through the historical city center with special focus on some places connected to Napoleonic wars or Napoleon Bonaparte and some other historical personalities from that days or those ages. So let's start now around the corner. This beautifully lookout platform.
Ouch!
And one important memorial.
You can't see nothing. Come on. This is terrible. Maybe it will. Who knows? Beautiful. But you can't even see it. At least not now. So it's the second largest city next to Prague in the Czech Republic. That's what he was telling us before I got this thing rolling. And he's going to show us some historical sites around the Napoleonic era in the Battle of Austerlitz. But it's going to be dark. I can't help it. But I'm going to stand back because I'm smoking a cigarette.
Poi anche lì.
I can't even hear what he's saying. What do we care? We're here to see the sights and sounds of Brno.
Here, because from here I can, yes. If I can ask you, if you would be so kind, come a little bit closer to me, and you can see on the top of the hill over there, you can see the Castle Spielberg. Yes, Spielberg Castle. Spielberg is the name, the same spelling like famous film director Steven Spielberg. Yes, Spielberg, which is from German words Spielen, and Spielberg means like Spiel is to play in German language, and Berg is hill. So this is actually hill for plays, hill for games, and in medieval times it of course meant hunting. So this hill where now is this castle used to be like hunting closure or hunting forest for noblemen of
This ain't doing real well.
14th centuries.
Maybe I ought to go to my...
The castle was founded in the middle of 1200s, around the year 1250, because 1243, a couple of years ago, before that 1250, 1243, Brno was given the privileges of royal town, yes, and this castle was founded especially as a to improve the defending of the city in, let's say, medieval times, during medieval conflicts and medieval wars. Yes, so there was permanent crew of royal soldiers, and it helped Brno several times during different conflicts, extremely or especially during 30 years war conflict, as you probably know, was conflict between Catholics and Protestants, lasting from 1618 till 1648. And within these years, Brno was besieged by Protestant Swedish army and successfully defended the soldiers and volunteers from members of city, or let's say citizens of city of Brno. They, as volunteers, together with small army troops, defended Brno. And then during, let's say, after the Battle of Austerlitz, you are here this time to visit the reenactment of the Battle of Austerlitz, probably on Saturday, yes, in 2 days. And after Napoleon Bonaparte reached his victory at the Battle of Austerlitz, he ordered to demolish part of this fortification of Spielberg Castle, not to be so strong fortress as it used to be before. Yes, yeah. So it was reduced and demolished partly. But those days the castle anyway has a different purpose, because from the order of Joseph II, son of Maria Theresa from Habsburg dynasty, the Spielberg Castle in 1783 was changed, or the purpose of the castle was changed from a military fortress into prison, and it served 70 years as a prison until 1855.
Okay.
Then Franz Joseph I in 1855 cancelled or finished the existence of the jail or prison in Castle Spielberg, and it returned back to its purpose as a military fortress. Yeah? Twice it served as a prison just for a short time, also in 20th century, in last century. Each time at the very beginning of World War conflicts. At the World War I, at the beginning of World War I, for a short time, even in Spielberg Castle was imprisoned Gavrilo Princip, if you know the name. Gavrilo Princip, assassinator from Sarajevo, who shot the Ferdinand d'Este. Then, at the beginning of Second World War, in this castle, for a couple of months only, was the prison or jail of Gestapo, of secret police of Nazi Germany. Then they changed the place actually and chosen another building, a former dormitory of local university students. Sorry?
That's where I lived as a student.
In
Kaunitsa.
Kaunitsa College, yeah? And the castle of Spielberg served as a barracks for Wehrmacht Nazi army. And last soldiers, then after the war, it served as a barracks for Czechoslovakian army. Last soldiers left the castle in 1960, and since 1960, this castle is part of museum of city of Brno. So now it's museum, yes? But we are here mainly, or let's say especially because of this obelisk. This obelisk is a monument dedicated to victory over Napoleon Bonaparte and memorial of all killed soldiers during Napoleonic Wars. The obelisk was erected here in 1818, yes, 3 years after last battle at Waterloo. So this was 1818, and from the order of Austrian Emperor Francis I, yes, who was actually at the battlefield of Austerlitz battle personally during the day, 2nd December of the 1805 battle. This year, now I understand,
it actually will be on the
the
second.
reenactment is on the certain same day, like it was really on the 2nd of December. Yes. This reenactment is on Saturday, so it's also
The correct day.
Yes, because it's every time now, these years, it's every time on a Saturday.
Yeah.
The Saturday closest to the 2nd December, so sometimes it is 29th November, sometimes it's 4th or 5th December, but this year is 2nd December, exactly.
The correct date.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's Franz Joseph, yes. This was the Austrian emperor who took Austria through the First World War?
Yes.
But you just...
And he was on the throne a long time. He died 1916. He died 1916, so he didn't survive the end of the First World War.
1855 he was on the throne, huh?
Yes, he was emperor since 1848.
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
He reigned a long
In 1848, he stepped on the throne. Or he started to rule. 1848. So, and 1916 he died. So he ruled for, let me help count it, 68 years. 52
Wow.
plus 16, 68 years. Almost as long as Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Yes? 68 years.
I have a question.
Yes.
During the 30 Years' War, the Swedes were Protestant, I'm assuming,
Yes.
and
Brno was on Catholic side.
it was a
Yes.
Catholic side.
Yes.
And who won?
Well,
You heard it.
Did I hear it? We won.
You mean
Brno
the,
defense.
We
you mean
won.
the whole war, or
Why? Well,
the whole
nobody won the whole war.
The whole 30 Years' War ended by the so-called Westphal Peace in 1648.
Yes.
It was signed in Osnabrück and Münster in cities of West Germany. And actually, in sport terminology, the 30 Years' War ended with in a draw. Because nor Catholic nor Protestants were the winners.
But you will hear a good story
Yeah.
regarding the Swedes in Brno
Yeah. Was it-
later at a better spot.
Yes.
The leader of the Swedes was Adolphus something.
Let's go to see
Yes,
the cathedral
Adolphus.
from closer distance because it will be
Can't
closed
see anything.
now, but we can see at least
I see.
The obelisk was, did not get that. Adolphus. Shit, what'd I do? Damn it. There it is. Yeah, throw it out. There we go. See, these people that I'm with know history, know their history. It's awesome. Some are, well, yeah, they know their history.
He transformed it. He transformed France.
Hey, I don't know. Hopefully this turns out okay. But I'm not sure. This might be too dark.
I mean, right down. One of the problems, as I understand it, is that people talk just in different.
We're going to the cathedral,
Yes.
but we can't get in.
But they actually speak different languages. And he just said, no.
Boy, I don't know about this camera in the dark. Just ain't working very well. But maybe, just maybe, just maybe. Ooh, how beautiful is that? Look at that.
Maybe not. He was demonic.
We will have walk a bit more briskly, yeah? Because we only have 1 hour.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. This modern statue, this is not representation of Saint Peter and Paul. These are two brothers missionaries, Saint Kyrillos and Methodeus, who came to this area, this territory, in the year 800.
These are one that brought Christianity too. And you can't see a damn thing, can you? That's crazy.
Teaching young boys both reading, writing,
And the tower, hopefully we can see a little bit better. No, you can't. And two saints. Not sure who they are. Can't see. Shit. Well, we're going, it's dying. Battery's dying, which is weird because I just put it in. So we're going to have to go with the phone. Okay. I missed the... I wasn't doing this right. This is Christmas market down here, I'm assuming. And it's shaking terribly.
Actually since 1840s, yes, more than 150 years. But before the Battle of Austerlitz, as you can read here in Czech or Russian language, here was accommodated the main leader of the Russian army, yes, Marshal Mikhail Ignatowicz. Yes. So, let's say, greatest Russian Marshal
Kutuzov again.
Later on our short tour, I will show you where is the most accommodated Napoleon Bonaparte. Yes? It was different building, of course, in different days, different nights spent here. Yes, here in Brno.
Band setting up. It's a Thursday. I don't know, I'm losing them. Where the hell did they go? Oh. There they are.
These two buildings were shortly, or let's say, for some limited time, adapted, yes, can I say, adapted as provisory hospitals for wounded French soldiers. So here also in this building were accommodated wounded French soldiers after the Battle of Austerlitz, yes, in December 1805. So how many British we have? You are from London and from UK? You are Americans?
Yeah.
UK? Four British and 4 Americans. That's what it is.
All these little stalls. Hold up that book. Huh? Yeah. It's for my kids.
Get to the hotel.
Okay.
That way to the hotel. In case I get lost. See, he's taking us on. I'd rather stay at the market. But we're on a tour.
We've got tomorrow night.
That's true. And we got to eat. We got a dinner engagement at 7. So we're trying to go through this real quick. I'm going to have to go back and get the cathedral because I screwed up. I wasn't filming. Look at all that Jägermeister. The old Jäger. Tutti Frutti. Soul Bistro. I can't get lost. There's some more over that way. Christmas goodies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Everybody's here. So this is this area or place. This is the core.
It's just so beautiful here. It's beauteous. It's old. It's an old city. Ooh, beautiful line. Very festive. Another church.
This beautiful Baroque church here, this is a typical example of Central European Baroque architecture. The church was built after 30 Years' War in 1660s and 1670s, roughly between the years 1660 and 1678. And the architect who designed this beautiful Baroque church, his name was John Baptist Erna. His father, Andrea Erna, came to Brno from Milano in North Italy. But John Baptist was born here in Brno, so we consider him as a Brno architect. Even at home they called him Giovanni Battista in Italiano style. Yes. But
very simple decoration inside.
not very simple. I would say very decorative, very typical Baroque. Yes, it was, yes, it's more like simple from outside, the more decorative and I would say over decorative inside, but it's closed, you cannot see the interior.
Not like the Dutch.
No, definitely not. Central European Baroque is Catholic. It's much more closer to Spanish or Italian style. Yellow building now the town hall. This is the seat of city council meetings and place of city council meetings and seat of mayor of Brno. Yeah? There is office of mayor on the upper floor. Yes. Mohammed flags, yellow and red with a checkered.
Yeah, definitely do Christmas right.
One one head eagle on blue.
Like I said, this is Thursday night. Whoops, sorry. Oh, sorry. Just all over the place. Town hall.
The wooden nativity scene. Yes? Nativity scene with Jesus as a baby, newborn baby, and every year, if you can come a little bit closer to me again, every year there is at least one new more figure of some animal or one of the human beings. So this Christmas decoration every year is bigger and bigger. Now I think it's like 75 pieces. Maybe next year it will be 76 or 77. The carver every year adds 1 or 2 more pieces. And I would like to tell you something about this.
There's an elephant at Easter.
Of course, we can take the pictures.
Look at, there's even an elephant at the birth of Jesus. It's amazing. So what he was explaining is every year it gets one more. So it keeps growing.
Let's say evidence of our support to this country.
What do you think? Think it's pretty cool? There's a lot of people having fun.
Having speech from this balcony. In March 1939, after this our former Czech
Oh boy,
Republic was
what's going on here?
occupied by Nazi Germany.
Hitler spoke out of that window right there after they took over Czechoslovakia, when the British and the French gave it to them as a present.
So it is said that Queen Elizabeth II
And
denied
Queen
to step on the
Elizabeth
same
was here.
balcony as Hitler did, so she had her speech from that balcony. So yes, so since 1996 we have balcony
Queen
of
Elizabeth
Queen
spoke
Elizabeth
over there.
and balcony of Adolf Hitler.
After the war, of course, when she became
That's the
queen.
history of this city. Yes, that's the history.
Whoops. Oh, isn't that's interesting above the door. That's neat. Look at. So we're going to the site where Napoleon was something or other, I guess we'll find out, after the victory at Austerlitz. So I don't know, maybe he vacationed here after the win. Who knows? He may have. It's all over the place. Even that way. Okay. Nothing down.
You will understand probably. That building behind, the historical neo-Renaissance building, this is concert hall seat of Brno Philharmonic Orchestra. But it's the building was built in 1870s, 1872 or something. So it is 150 years old building. So it's old, old-fashioned, and the main hall is for big symphonical orchestra, now let's say too small. Yes? So they started a couple of years ago, built a new concert hall for Brno, which is right here in front of you, behind this fence. But you can't see anything. Yes? There is only concreted foundation. Under that foundation, they are finished underground parking for cars. But then in 2020 came COVID-19, and then the war in Ukraine, and everything was postponed, everything was stopped. So the construction now is sleeping for 3 or 4 years actually, and originally planned was to be finished next year, 2024. We will be lucky if it will be 2028. Yes, only underground parking is finished.
It's a shame. You got pizza. Pizza pie.
I would say just curious. Barcelona is better.
Down this way.
Barcelona is better hotel for sure. Lady and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. This place we just arrived. This is called Moravian Square. Moravian Square, according to the name of this province of Moravia. Yes, and besides, of course, some Christmas attraction like punch bar, hot wine bar, or over there the Ferris wheel, yes, which is rotating and working, functioning. What you can see here is the St. Thomas Church. This building opposite behind you, this is Supreme Court of the Czech Republic. It's the main court for the whole Czech Republic, so-called Supreme Court. You can read it in Czech up the Nejvyšší správní soud, Supreme Court, yes. And next to the St. Thomas Church, Moravian Gallery, Governor's Palace. Governor ruling this province of Moravia in the name of Czech kings. Yes? And one of the governors was Jošt from Moravian branch of Luxembourg dynasty, the nephew of our famous King Charles IV, who founded Charles University in Prague. This gentleman portrayed as a horseman in the sculpture, or represented by that sculpture. This is Jošt Moravian, yes? He was similarly as his father, John Henry. He was in the function of Margrave. Margrave means ruling province of Moravia in the name of Czech kings, or administrating this province in the name of Czech kings. Yes, and the statue is relatively new. It's here since 2015, only 8 years. And this statue behind you, this is, if you know the movie One Flight Over Cuckoo Nest with Jack Nicholson. So this is a representation of that big Indian boy or Native American boy, yes, who was in that lunatic asylum, locked with Jack Nicholson, and he
One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Taking some machine and
Juicy fruit.
Throwing it through the window.
Juicy fruit.
Opening for their escape, right, in the movie. So this is like representation of justice, because it's in front of the Supreme Court, so it should represent the justice at all, like symbol of justice.
Gotcha.
Inspired by the movie Flight Over Cuckoo Nest. And let's go to see where Napoleon Bonaparte was accommodated. It was in the building of today Moravian Gallery over there.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Not like London Eye. Yeah, this is only during the end of November, the whole December, and then first week of January. Until
January 6th, Little Christmas. January 6th, little Christmas. Tourist. Can you tell? Can you tell? I'm a tourist. Mostly food and drink. There's little kids playing in the hay. That's cute. That's a good idea. Got a merry-go-round. There's some gifts. And oh, this is interesting.
Before and after the Battle of Austerlitz, here in the same building, which was those days prestigious address because it used to be as a governor's palace. So here was accommodated Napoleon Bonaparte himself with some highest officers. Yes, you can read here, if you can read French, it's in Czech language and French, that he was here from between 20 and 28 November, and then again 7 to 12 December 1805, before and after Battle of Austerlitz. And then once more in 1809, where was the Battle of Znojmo, yes? So this.
You were there today.
Yeah, so he was here 3 times accommodated, each time for a couple of nights. Yes.
Wonder how much he had to pay. Oh, he probably didn't pay anything. He was on tour. This is so neat. Look at that. I think that's good enough. We're on our way to the main square, but we're in a tight window. The main square. It's such a beautiful city. There's, I don't know if it was mentioned, there, it's like a 500,000 person. There we go. There's talk about a neat place. I don't know what that is. That's a church under reconstruction. Wow, that's big.
In late Gothic style, it was finished at the very end of 1592. It was constructed for almost the whole 16th century, from the year roughly 1500 until 1592. Yes?
It's old.
Church tower to the very top. Yeah. This church tower is the tallest one among all the churches in the world. This is 94 meters high, which means 10 meters higher than 2 towers of Cathedral.
Almost lost my hat looking up. Oh. Okay.
For Roman Catholics, it's very famous place of pilgrimage is Santiago de Compostela in northwestern Spain. Yes, from this church, this is usually the gathering point for pilgrims from this area, from Moravia, when they are preparing for the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela. So they usually start on the Mass in this church, which is now closed for reconstruction. As you can see, it's closed about 1 year, and 1 more year it will be, because there is a reconstruction both from outside and both the interior.
Well, like they said,
its own Christmas market.
yeah. So there's a Christmas market going on, and this is the main one if you're heading hurt.
So maybe we can stay here for a while. Oh, this gentleman. Yeah, we can stay here. In front of the stage will be the music that you cannot hear here. So I will tell you here about the square. This is the main Brno square, triangle shape, called Freedom Square, or maybe in American Liberty Square. It was renamed after the declaration of independence of Czechoslovakia. Before
Liberty Square.
This square was called very simply Great Market. And since 1918, this is Freedom Square or Liberty Square. And as you can see now, it's decorated again. And I will show you over there in front of the most modern building, there is a monument, that monument dedicated to the successful defense of Brno in the 30 Years' War siege by 3 armies.
30-year war, them dirty Swedes, them damn Protestants attacking this city.
So please follow me.
I'd rather listen to the music. I'm gonna get lost. I like that music. Listen to that, it's gorgeous. Ah, smell that.
So the whole square, this triangle of this square, with these mixture of buildings from different architecture styles, different centuries. The most historical one department store. And in the front of this department store, you can see that monument, which is the timepiece in one. Because upper part is rotating, one rotation every minute. You can see it's rotating. And there is in that small window,
it is.
There should be visible like the hour. But it's so small that nobody can read the time without some triader or yes, without some optic equipment. Yeah. So actually
kind of like a phalanx
more
symbol, isn't it?
monument than the clock. The clock is
I don't know about this place.
modern style of clock.
Do they do anything like this over in the UK?
Like this? Well, I guess.
At some place?
To be honest, not seen anything quite as
No.
impressive as this.
Oh Lord. He's got a helmet on. He wouldn't get hurt. He'd kill you.
Many of them, and we'd need helmets on.
That's right. Yeah, we have a square in Cincinnati, and they have a skating rink and a few things. That's it. Nothing like this.
I mean, to answer your question, I don't get the impression that we have anything that's concentrated.
Right. Right.
And in little old Guildford, we have the high streets, right? And it's quite jolly, but
Yeah.
it's like this.
Right. I think I can turn this off. That's over. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get this guy. Okay, I guess this is the building he's going to talk about. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe the next one. Looks religious too.
This is another Baroque church. Yeah. This is dedicated to Saint
Baroque.
John. Saint John the Baptist and Saint John the Evangelist. So it's so-called Church of Saint John's.
Okay. Enough of that.
Historical city, yes, with a lot of historical places, many churches, many theaters.
Okay. I'm going to get run over. I hope not. All their stores are occupied. You don't see any storefront that's closed. Well, maybe I talked too soon, but I haven't seen any that's occupied. So it's pretty amazing. No closed storefront.